Whether you're in North or South Carolina or anywhere else in the world, enter the Cat Cave with Michael Davis and Shannon Smith this week to listen to your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast, a part of the Keep Pound Podcast Network and powered by the Fans First Sports Network. It is a Wednesday. We got one more game left in the NFL, but we have a lot to talk about, even if the Panthers are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. We'll talk about their loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Quick shout to Ryan. Ryan and Shannon held the show down while I was gone for a few months. And then the last few weeks, it's been like, okay, it's me and Shannon. And then Shannon can't do the show, so it's me and Ryan. And then we're back to me and Shannon. We'll eventually get back to the three of us because it is a magical trio. Super excited that Shannon can be on the show co-hosting with us. But Shannon, we got a lot to talk about. Before I get into the Panthers game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I really, really, really want to talk about the Panthers owner, David Tepper, because he made headlines when he was in the owner's box and then he threw a drink onto a fan in the stands. I have my own thoughts about this, but what? I mean, please, is there any excuse for this? I want to know your thoughts.
The only excuse in this one is there is absolutely no excuse for what is going on. I don't understand. I looked at this video countless times. I probably say at least 20, 30 times I've looked at this, trying to find something, trying to see what I can see, and I keep seeing the same thing. So David Tepper, bad move, dumb move, boneheaded move, whatever you want to call it, it wasn't the right decision.
It just baffles me because it's like there's obviously a line, right? And we talk all the time about fans respecting that line. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, granted, the video was started after, David Tepper decided to pick up his drink and throw it on the fan. So we don't really have any context about what the fan did or said, or if he had crossed a line before the film started rolling. But who was filming that video in that press box with David Tepper?
Yes.
Because he definitely wanted something to get out. And B, like, even if a fan is acting unruly at a game, that's not uncommon, especially if there's alcohol involved. But stooping down to even a fan's level, if they were acting out of line, as an owner of an NFL team, Shannon, I think it's unacceptable. And the NFL should look into punishing David Tepper. And I don't know what a fair punishment is for that, because there's got to be some level of accountability here, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing here. David Tepper is rich. He is a very wealthy man. He has a lot to lose. And by him doing something like that, he's pretty much showing everyone that he has nothing to lose. And that is not the case. You run a team, you're an owner of a team. People are looking at you, looking up, because you're the owner. You're basically it. You are the man. This is your team. And if you want your employees, your players, all these people under you to act accordingly, you need to be setting the example and being the golden standard of what character and class needs to be. And unfortunately, we haven't really seen that with David Tepper, definitely this year. So I guess it's just another case of seeing the same thing over and over again from this man.
And a lot of fans have been, vocal about, what's David Tepper doing. Some I've seen actually are like, hey, he's the owner of the team. He can do whatever he wants. But Ryan made a comment a few weeks ago about, Jerry Jones being one of the worst owners in the NFL. I've never seen an owner throw a drink on a fan during an NFL game. Like, this is new low. And that's not even starting to talk about the quality of the play on the field, which we'll get into here in a couple minutes.
It just goes to show you, regardless of what's happening right now, David Tepper is pretty much showing himself to be the worst owner in the NFL. He's basically got himself number one, and then number 2, 3, 4, and 5 is to be determined.
We'll see how that goes. And then obviously we had a football game this past weekend that didn't go David Tepper's way. The Panthers went to Jacksonville and were shut out. They were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars did not have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. Lawrence is hurt. And so with their playoff hopes on the line, the Jaguars started C.J. Beathard. C.J. Beathard went 17 of 24, 178 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, which is fine. But Carolina's defense was eaten alive by Travis Etienne Jr., who had over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. But as for Carolina on offense, Bryce Young, 19 of 32, 112 yards, 1 interception. Chuba Hubbard was the leading rusher with 45 yards, and Adam Thielen, the leading receiver, with 6 catches for 38 yards. We were talking about this on the show last week, and we didn't know what team would show up because Carolina did a lot to show that they were fighting for something against Green Bay, if nothing else, pride. But as you can see, scrolling on the bottom right now, the loss of the Jaguars, the Panthers officially award Chicago with the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft because of that trade to go up and get Bryce Young. We'll talk about that trade and what we thought about it now that we officially know they traded a number 1 overall pick for a number 1 overall pick. But Shannon, did you expect more from this Panther squad in Jacksonville, or was this to be expected?
I expected more, especially after last week. And first of all, my apologies for not being able to be on the show last week. I had to work late. Sadly, that happened. And I really was wanting to be on the show because I was very proud of this Panthers offense. I was very proud of the game that they played last week. They showed a lot of guts. They showed a lot of moxie. They showed a lot of heart in that game. They fell short, but I'm proud of games like that. You know, that Green Bay game, I was very proud of. I thought that this squad was fighting and that they were going to fight against a Jacksonville squad that's lost 4 straight and no Trevor Lawrence. I figured that there would be a sign of fight with this Panthers offense in this game these past couple days. But unfortunately, it wasn't. There was no presence on that offense. There was no flow to the offense. It looked like they were trying to rush plays. It looked like they were not getting set. They were just doing all the things that they were doing weeks prior with this offense. They just basically could not make it to the red zone. They were having trouble with the passing game, of course, with the 1 turnover. It was just atrocious. The offense just looked atrocious.
It almost looked as bad as the 49ers did against the Baltimore Ravens.
Right? You had to rub that in right there, didn't you? See, you know, that's what about you sometimes, man. You had to rub that in, didn't you? You just had to do it to me. Why? For what?
I had to. Hey, you guys beat up on the Cowboys all the time. I had to get like something in. Baltimore's a exceptional team. They've clinched home field advantage in the AFC, and the 49ers have clinched home field advantage in the NFC. So obviously, you know, those are decided. But what's also decided is who's picking number 1 overall, and it's not the Carolina Panthers. It is the Chicago Bears. And to remind you, the Panthers traded up last year to go get Bryce Young, and who very well may be the future as a franchise quarterback, but you moved up to get him. You gave Chicago, the 8th or 9th overall pick of that year's draft. You gave them DJ Moore. You obviously gave them this year's first. I know hindsight's always 2020, and DJ Moore is just, you know, vibing, knowing he'll be playing with the number 1 overall pick next year, whether that be Caleb Williams or whether that be another piece of the offense, or Chicago even trades that pick to get more compensation. We don't know how that plays out, but man, if you're watching Bryce Young play, and he had a really good game against Green Bay. He's led 2 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter with no time left. Okay, getting his team down the field to kick a game-win field goal. This has happened for the Carolina Panthers, but then like you said, you follow that up with going to Jacksonville and throwing for 112 yards. There's a lot of backup quarterbacks who could throw for 112 yards in this league, and right now it's number 1 overall pick Bryce Young, who's supposed to be your future of the franchise. Shan, it's really, really tough to look at this and have optimism as a Panthers fan, but if you were to shed some light on, is this gloom and doom that the Panthers trade away DJ Moore, trade away Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers, and they could have had the number 1 overall pick this year, which could have been spent on Caleb Williams? Like, there's so many like what ifs and hypotheticals we can play with here on the show that we obviously don't have all the time in the world for. Like, what do you make of this?
What I make of it as is, I don't care what quarterback you put in that offense that Carolina had, they were not going to do well. I know that there are people out there saying that Bryce Young was not the pick. Bryce Young is too short. Bryce Young was not good enough. Listen, CJ Stroud would have been having the same problems with this same offense. Will Levis would have been having the same problems with this offense. Joe Flacco, Aiden McConnell, name any of the quarterbacks that were second stringers that did not play this year or had limited experience or were rookies this year. You put them on that offense, I guarantee you they would have these same results that Bryce Young is having. So I'm going to leave that alone, especially this year, because we can't really say it. Bryce's career has only been 1 year. We don't know what he can do. We don't know what he's capable of. We've seen a little bit of it, but until he gets pieces, it's not going to help. And speaking of pieces, Carolina's really going to have to settle for some pieces that might not be so great, considering the fact that there's no first-round pick. There's no Christian McCaffrey. There's no DJ Moore. I don't know how true it was when DJ Moore smiled and thanked Carolina for giving Chicago the number 1 overall pick. I don't know how true that was. You know how social media is sometimes with some of their stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was happy or if he was smiling, because Chicago's going to get a pick given to them. Chicago didn't have a great season, but they had a better season than Carolina did. Let's just leave it at that. And they played in a tougher division than Carolina did. So I can understand why Chicago was taking a fall like they have been. So it just goes to show you, you know, if Ryan were here, Ryan said it best: mortgaging the farm away. Christian McCaffrey going to the 49ers. Appreciate that, though. And also, Steve Wilks, once again, should have been coaching this squad. Appreciate it again. Then DJ Moore, who was your deep threat, your number 1 receiver. You get rid of him. You do a Houston Texans like they did D-Hop and get rid of Hopkins. Trade that man to Arizona and pretty much tell D. Watt, hey, dude, get us to the promised land like you did beforehand. What is he going to do? So you basically give a rookie quarterback hardly any team or a bare bones team with a coach that got fired beforehand, and you expect some type of result or some type of positive result or some type of winning season. That's hard to do. That's moving mountains. And that's basically what Carolina's that's what their season was this year, moving a mountain.
Yeah, it's really hard to decide if a player is a boom or a bust in, you know, his rookie year. I'm going to throw up some stats here on the bottom ticker. If you're subscribed to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, you can, you know, watch it on the screen. Also, Shannon and I are pulling double duty this week as well, because today marked the return of the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast. So you can go watch and subscribe there as well. I'm going to throw up some stats here from somebody's rookie season. Okay. And I want you to guess who it is and if you would be confident in that person being your franchise quarterback. Okay. And for those listening on the audio to the Fans First Sports Network as well, we're going to read off these stats for you. This player had a 3-13 record. He had 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and threw for 59.6% in his rookie season. Okay. I want Shannon to answer if he thinks this is a franchise quarterback. Grant, it was his rookie year. And what you make of this rookie year and these statistics.
Well,
And guess who it is?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I know who it is, but I'll go a little further with that. First of all, I'll make of this young man's rookie year. I'm pretty sure I know who it is, but hopefully I'm not wrong and don't make a fool of myself in front of the viewing public. But let's see. I'm thinking that this young man is taller and bigger weight-wise than Bryce Young is, right?
Well, that's not saying much, but sure.
This young man wore a different shade of blue than Bryce Young, right? Was it a shade of blue? Is it a shade of blue?
I mean, maybe? Where are you going with this?
It's not Peyton Manning. I don't think.
It is not Peyton Manning.
Not Peyton
It
Manning
is not Peyton Manning.
That's who I was thinking, the obvious pick was going to be because, they always bring up Peyton Manning's rookie year and how he fell on his face in Indianapolis. It's definitely not Russ. Can you give me
Russ cooked?
Can you give me a year?
Well, this guy, a year, I can tell you this person is currently playing in the NFL right now.
Currently playing? Ooh.
Currently playing in the NFL right now. That is your closest hint that you can get.
Currently playing.
Just look at the stats on the screen.
Okay,
3-13 record, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions.
17. Okay, is it Dak Prescott?
It is not Dak Prescott. Dak had a good rookie year.
Oh, I know. I figured that. I was thinking it wasn't Dak Prescott. God almighty. Whoa, I was way off. Sorry about that. He's currently playing. Can you what was the rookie year? What was the rookie year? Can you do that?
The rookie year would give it away. But
the rookie year.
If you're looking at the screen right now, you have a major hint right in front of you as you look at the stats.
1.4. It wasn't Kyler Murray. Can't be
Kyler Murray.
It ain't your boy Baker Mayfield. So
it is not Baker Mayfield. Shannon, this quarterback played for a team that the Panthers have played this season. Just he wasn't on the field when they played him.
Ooh. Wow.
This is referring to the number 1 overall pick just a few years ago.
Was Trevor Lawrence
by the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
And the verdict is still out. Trevor Lawrence. The verdict is still out, though.
The verdict is not.
No, the verdict is out.
No, it's not.
The verdict is out is because he's playing in a garbage conference, is what it is. And look what Bryce Young has got. He played in a garbage conference. Look what's going on with him. The AFC South is worse. I wouldn't say worse, but they're along the same level as the NFC South. Like the NFC South and the AFC South are kind of like they're in the same league. They're in the same ball field because the Saints, the Bucks, and the Falcons are basically like Jacksonville, Houston, and who was the other one? Just left my head. Crap. I just left my head. Tennessee. they're close to them basically. Well, Tennessee's mathematically out. Tennessee is out, so they're like Houston, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis. Yep, that's basically how they
Yeah,
are.
I would agree with that. There's a comparison there. Also, 3 teams from both divisions are competing for the division
Yep.
title this week.
Mhm.
We'll do a quick preview on the NFC South here, but yeah, Trevor Lawrence, 3 of 13 his rookie year, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 59.6% completion percentage. And then we look at player B, 2 and
Uh-oh. Ooh.
14, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, identical completion percentage. And if you're asking yourself who this rookie quarterback could be, he has one more game left. He has one more game to earn another win, throw a few more touchdowns, throw for more than 112 yards than he did last week. This player is player B. This guy is player Bryce Young.
Mm,
Like,
mm.
if you look at these stats,
They're
Bryce
close.
Young has one less win.
Wow.
Bryce Young has one less touchdown with a game to go, and
Uh,
he had 7 less interceptions than Trevor Lawrence. So I beg of people, I had to put Shannon through the torture rack a couple minutes as he wrestled with who that player could be.
oh
Um,
man.
but I beg people, do not throw away this Bryce Young kid who could actually be your future. Okay. If Peyton Manning struggled, Peyton threw 28 interceptions his rookie year. Trevor Lawrence, very similar stats to Bryce Young. Both of them are considered franchise quarterbacks at one point, top 3 to 5 at their position.
You also got to look at it too, though. Trevor Lawrence also lost his coach halfway through the year as well, too. Well, more than halfway through the year, but the only difference is Urban Meyer was doing stuff he wasn't supposed to be doing. You know, Frank Reich was just losing. Urban Meyer was just being a dummy. So let's just leave it at that. You know, you get in some trouble in Jacksonville, apparently. So, but
Eh,
but yeah, that's another thing though, for real, because like Trevor Lawrence had to go through that because the front office had to go through stuff because Urban Meyer was in the front office as well too. They pretty much gave the team to Urban Meyer, and he just fumbled it like badly, and so he left Trevor Lawrence basically on an island because not only was his team not so great, but he had a very bad situation with Urban Meyer being foolish like he was. So it wasn't fair to him too. So he had some trouble as well.
yeah, it was wow. How to fumble the bag that hard if you're Urban Meyer, one of the best
Absolutely.
college football minds, and getting a shot in the NFL just to, waste it away. But I enjoy watching his analysis on TV.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
we got a few, we got a few more minutes left of the show. Again, you can subscribe to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. Watch me and Shannon on Drop the Mic as well. And by the time this is playing, we also announced that Desmond Johnson, the producer of Tobacco Road, finally made his Drop the Mic appearance. But we got to talk real quick about these Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming to town to Carolina, to Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium, and playing the Panthers. This is at the same time the Falcons are playing the Saints. The NFL released that Week 18 schedule this week. And the idea is if Tampa Bay beats Carolina, they win the division.
Mhm.
If Tampa does not beat Carolina, the winner of the Falcons and the Saints will win the NFC South. Um, Before we get into who you think wins the NFC South, and it might be a spoiler alert right here, what are you looking forward to in this Buccaneers and Panthers matchup in Carolina's last chance to show what they're made of before the front office starts making decisions in this offseason?
The biggest highlight to me is if Baker's going to choke or not. That's the biggest highlight for me. Because, you know, if Baker blows it, if Baker blows it in Charlotte, how funny would that be if he just basically just beats Baker from last year and blows the game? So that's what I'm looking at the most. I'm not really looking at strategy. Well, I am sort of, but I think to me the biggest spot is if Baker blows it or not.
That would be humiliating if you're Baker Mayfield coming to the team.
It would
Like,
be funny.
you have to. It would, and I don't like Baker Mayfield, but I appreciate that he's matured. He's matured. Like, last year when Panther fans were super excited about getting him from Cleveland and, like,
Right.
already trying to crown him king, I'm like, "Guys, this guy's not mature enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL." And then after Carolina, it changed him as a person. And now
Yeah.
Baker's, like, actually leading a team and taking his job seriously because he's like, "Oh, this is my 3rd team in as many years. I actually need to play good or decent." And I will
And
say this, it's I wanna pick Tampa to win this game. Shannon, I'll get your prediction here, but Carolina notably has 2 wins this year, and it's
yes.
always been when they had something to prove. The first win was against Houston and CJ Stroud. You had to prove that Bryce Young was the better pick over CJ Stroud. Okay.
Right.
Secondly, you beat the Falcons a couple weeks ago. Your division rival, perhaps Carolina's biggest rival right now, is the Atlanta Falcons. You had to beat them.
It is.
Now you have your last game, your last division rival. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and your starting quarterback from last year, Baker Mayfield, coming back to Bank of America Stadium. Shannon, you know what? Let me hear your prediction before I give mine because I keep going back and forth on who could actually win this game because Carolina's defense is actually praying pretty solid.
Yes. I mean, their defense has been what's kept them in any game that they've had a chance in all year. Their defense has played very well. They've been left on an island. But okay, now to the prediction here. I ain't going to take up too much time. I know I have most of this show, but I will say this. I think my slap Dave Tepper in the face tour is going to continue because I'm hoping that my 49ers win the Super Bowl this year and be a big slap in his face for the CMC thing and the Steve Wilkes thing. So I think the slap in the face of Dave Tepper is going to begin with Baker Mayfield winning this game. However, it's not going to be an easy win. I think they go in overtime. And then they break the hearts of us Panther fans, of Panther Nation, and Baker Mayfield clips us, sadly. So, but it's going to be a nail biter and it's going to be an overtime, I believe.
So in our question of who wins the NFC South, if Tampa wins, they win the division.
And that's
You
going to
think
be
that's the case?
That's going to be even more because it was a nail biter of a game and it was for the division and the marbles go to Baker and the Buccaneers. And yeah, and the offseason begins.
So I really this is a tough prediction to make on the spot because at the end of the day, like Tampa's favored 5.5 points. I
Mm-hmm.
think they could win the division. I think of all the NFC South teams, I think they deserve to win the division more. And
Yeah.
they obviously have the easier competition in Carolina this week. But
Facts.
from the start of the year, I said, look out for this team to win the NFC South. And even after an abysmal coaching performance by Arthur Smith, especially with his usage or lack thereof of your number 1 overall pick, Bijan Robinson, and
What
who's at
happened?
quarterback, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, I don't know. Give me Carolina winning the final game of the year, upsetting Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, and then Atlanta goes in to New Orleans and beats the Saints, and the Falcons win the division at 8-9. That's going to be as crazy of an ending to this NFC South that you can get. And speaking of ending, we're wrapping up on time. Shannon, Hey, do you have any parting words to anyone here listening in the Cat Cave before we exit until next week? This is our last Cat Cave before the regular season comes to a close.
I just want to say I thank you for having me on the Cat Cave. I appreciate you guys being generous. You and Ryan both. Thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I had a lot of fun. Let's just hope this next time around we can have a winning season. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Let's hope. Let's hope. And you can subscribe to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. You can check all of our episodes on the archive at the Fans First Sports Network. And of course, Drop the Mic is back with the guy you see on screen, Shannon. We got Desmond Johnson. We got Nate Warden. We got Mike Mealy from the Mouthing Off with Mike Wrestling podcast. It's a big day on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. I'm super excited to be back on Tobacco Road. And until next week, adios. Exit the Cat Cave, but you can listen to more content by us on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, more Carolina-centric podcasts on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, all powered by the Fans First Sports Network. We will see you all next week in the Cat